How you doing, John? I gotta make a little video here for you and to cover up some of the things that you might have had questions with. Um, the extension that the judge was referring to. Well, most of the time, judges probably don't even know what you're doing, and they probably don't know the kata, and most of them are more sport than actual traditional martial arts. So, in the conception or the teaching of technique, I always practice snapping of technique. So, whenever you practice it, people will go like this and then come back, kind of like a snap. So, what you're doing is you're tensing and then relaxing. So, when you go fast, it it looks kind of like you're not making a full extension. If you make a full extension, you have a chance of hyperextending your elbow. You've probably done it before where you come in, bam, you lock your elbow out and it hurts like heck. So I always teach to stop just a little bit before full lock, just a little bit before. So you don't have that full lock or a chance to hyperextend. Same with kicking. I don't lock the knee out. It hurts to lock it out. So I always stop just short of lock or full extension. And that I hope that helps with the extension or the judge thought you're not extending the punch enough. Because in Isshin-Ryu, we do the vertical thumb on top. Actually, it's not 12. In reality, it's 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. It's called the natural hand position. So it's not here, it's here. So if you take your hands and you just relax them and make a fist and then just bring them up, that's the natural hand position. It's about 11, 1 o'clock. So that's where the hand position comes in. So that covers some of the things that the judges, and I never try to chase the judges. Um, I don't care whether they like what I'm doing or not, or whether they think I'm doing it right or not. I always do the kata how I was taught the best I can. And sometimes the judges like it, sometimes they don't. So that's just the opinion of the people that are judging at a tournament. So I also like to point out that I would prefer that the judges would be in the same location as if you're doing the kumite or the sparring at each corner. So you don't get people sitting right next to each other and then everybody's looking to see what everybody else wrote. So you don't get any fair you get inconsistencies. You know, if the person that's up there judging, if they don't know how to judge, then maybe they should step out. But it's not correct to have to look at your neighbor to find out what they're scoring. That's not, in my opinion, fair. So when they're at each corner, they have to judge independently. They don't have anybody to look at. So then you've got more of a fair assumption of what the judges think. And whether you got four at each corner and then one in the center at the front. So you get five. And I don't know, some tournaments will throw out two, some of them will add them all. However the case may be, that's how I would think that we would be the most fair, is at every corner. Most of the bigger, larger tournaments have the kata judges at the corners, just like they do in kumite. So, and then they've got one center referee. Well, they have one center judge. He's just not in he's sitting at the front. And so I hope that helps cover that extension part. And the idea of, I was going to cover this one move in Seison where you go here, here, and here. Well, years ago, Angi Uezu taught a severely watered down technique. He didn't want to teach a lot of the things that most of the Americans probably couldn't understand. So he just basically gave a real basic version of bunkai. He didn't give a real elaborate, more original intent. So if you're doing bunkai and you're grabbing the arm and then pulling it, that's watered down, it's ineffective, it's not going to do anything. Only thing you're doing is pulling the guy. So the idea of bunkai is to be able to neutralize that attack or that sequence. So if they can just get back up, or if they can continue to attack, if you will, then your bunkai's failed. You failed in bunkai. So you have to reevaluate it. So whenever you turn your back or turn direction, this person has to be neutralized, or this sequence has to be final, finite. There's no second chances. And it's not all one big fight, but it's a sequence. So if you have to finish this sequence in order to move on to the next. So in this particular motion, in my bunkai, I teach as a deflect down. I'm grabbing the arm and moving it down. As you move it down, you grab it. If you grab somebody's arm and you pull it, it causes their head to go back. So when you're coming here and you're pulling it, you're causing their head to come back. So this hand is right here on this knuckle. I'm trying to hit right here on that jawbone, right there below the ear, that little mandible part right there, coming upward into that jawline. And it shows here, but you may never get there. You're hitting and then following through. So when you follow through, so here, and then the next one is strike. I'm striking the carotid. Could be the collar, but I like to focus on the carotid. So I'm hitting the jaw, hitting the carotid. Now I'm going to grab your windpipe and choke you to death, or probably kill you. But you're grabbing the larynx, the windpipe, and squeezing as you pull. So it looks something like that. And you do it 3 times. There's a lot of 3s in kata. So that's a bunkai that you could use or practice. And that's why we practice, because you may only have one chance. So you're going here, here, here. But the idea of you trapping the arm, grabbing the wrist, and pulling the person doesn't do anything. It doesn't stop them. It doesn't neutralize them. It doesn't do anything. So I would delete that if that's what you're using for bunkai, and use something more of what I was showing you as a way to neutralize or finite. The sequence has to be final. The person has to be finished. Like I said, if they can just get back up and keep fighting, then the bunkai's failed. You have to reevaluate. Okay, so that's a bunkai in Seizan. Now, in Suunsu, the idea of that, and I'm going to show you. So you're stepping out and you're doing this. So your tendons coming up here. So whenever I teach this to somebody that's been doing Isshin-Ryu for a while, it's 2 strikes. Strike, strike, and then open. So you're hitting the chest and the solar as a beginning move. Okay, so whenever you do these these movements like this, there's a lot of things that are going on, and the judges they're not going to know what you're doing. They're not going to know what your bunkai is. They don't even know what the kata is. So what I'm doing is I'm here, so I'm going to take this hand and cover right in the center, because what I'm going to do is a technique called mofu tode. I'm going to block and punch at the same time. Okay, so after I do this, after I disrupt your sternum or your solar plex, I'm going to take the thumb, kink, and pop you right up underneath the chin, hard. So you're going boom, real hard, right up underneath the chin. Now you can come back over and punish their arm. So it looks like this. But in reality, when people look at you do the kata, they only see this. They don't see block, punch, hit, hit. That's bunkai. That will stop the person, neutralize them, so they can't continue. That's the whole idea of doing bunkai, is you have to stop them. You want the attack to stop. You can't get away. You're going to have to defend yourself. If I could get away, then I don't have to do anything. I can just vacate and get out of there. So it's not about winning. Winning is sport. It's about survival. Survival is karate. So my philosophy is you have to finish the sequence before you can move to the next one. So, and this is a stopper. And then you step, step, and then of course you can do, I seen you, when you come under, some people will grab, some people will open. I kind of do it open-handed, even though if I go to like the Isshin-Ryu Hall of Fame tournament, I'll always close, because if you don't, there are knuckleheads there that will grade you down if you don't do it like they're doing it. So whenever I do that, I will open my hands. That's on Su and Su. I hope that helps that. And I was going to cover some sai jutsu. Is a lot of people manipulate the sai in transitional movement. So they're moving the sai as and now you're locked in and you do your chatanyara strike. That's incorrect. Anywhere in this movement, if you hit anything, you're going to drop it or lose control of it. So before you do anything, you have to have a full grip. Now you can really put a lot of effort into that. Not as you're transitioning, you don't even have a hold of it in this whole big arc. Now, boom, now I'm locked in. Incorrect. If you're doing it that way, don't do it like that. You got to have full grip. You got to have a grip on it. I got to have control of it. Now I can fling it down to a hand, possibly, arm, possibly. Okay, so when you do that move, again, I want to lock my hand, lock the position. I got a full grip on it. Now I can do that technique on chatanyara no sai. One last thing I was going to cover with you is presentation. Presentation is almost like a job interview. You have to have that good presence, command presence. So if I go up and I do a kata and I kind of, my name's David Hansen, I'm doing Seisan. The judges have already mark you down. I guarantee you. So you have to have more of a command presence. So when you come in, directly, Seizan Kata! And then you begin. You don't have to scream, but you can be loud. And I prefer those to be loud. You're going to do Chatanya, Chatanya! Nusai! That gives the judges, man, this guy is direct. He's confident. So you've already got the attention. That's your idea, is to get their attention. So they can look at you and judge you, hopefully fairly. So that's a command presence whenever you go into a tournament. You want to have the mentality that I'm going to win this tournament and I'm going to be the one that decides. I'm going to give the judges no choice. They're going to have to give me a high score because I'm going to do a good, clean kata. So that's. I hope this helps some of the things that you were talking about as far as your last tournament. So if you want to, whatever kata you're getting ready to do in your next tournament, send it to me going about half speed. Okay. The beginning part of Seisan is punch, relax. It's not punch, block. It's punch, relax. All I'm doing is relaxing. I'm not doing two moves. 1, 2. It's 1. And then I'm stepping as I'm relaxing. And a lot of times people can't see what you're doing, so they think you're doing this. But you're actually extending, but they can't see it because your fists are vertical. You know, if you do it correctly, they can't see your elbow. Now, if you pop it out, then they can see what you're doing. But if you're coming straight in like a piston, like you're supposed to, they probably won't even see your elbow unless they're at each corner. So I hope that helps on your techniques. Another thing I could maybe advise is kicking. So you want your kicks, especially in the side kick, Yokogiri, Suinsu. I can't kick real high, nor do I want to, because you got a chance of getting groin kicked, and you will, because people will kick you there. So my idea is to raise my leg and then kick to the knee level. Please. And then to the other side. Raise the knee and then kick to the knee. So the knee moves this way. It don't move that way. So that's where I'm targeting that knee kick, Yokogiri. Right into that knee and do it downward at the angle. Boom. And practice that. The idea of kicking to the ribs, man, that looks pretty, that looks good, but in a real confrontation, if you raise your leg up, somebody's going to either sweep you, push you, or kick you in the groin. Guaranteed. Another thing on front kick, I don't do a front kick like that. What I do is I protect. I'm not doing this. I'm just protecting. So if they do the same kick I do, they can't get in here. So I'm just kind of like closing the door, if you will, protecting my groin. You could use your knee, Hizagiri, as you chamber. Your kicks can be, depending on how flexible you are, you could kick to the midsection. Obi height is a good kick. That's about as high as you need to go. It's extremely hard to kick somebody in the face doing a front kick because your foot's going to hit the person's body, unless you're extremely flexible, which most people in Isshin-Ryu aren't. And most people in Isshin-Ryu, their kicks suck because they don't practice them. So you want to be able to practice your chart 1, chart 2 good and make sure that your kicks are good. But belt knot high is about where I want to kick. And I'm going to do Seison this Saturday at the tournament. And I'm going to use Seiuchin as a backup if there's, by chance, a tie or something. And I'm going to do Hamahiga. And if there's a tie, I'm probably going to do Tokamini. And whenever you're doing your kicking, I like to go about belt, maybe a little bit higher. And then I want to show balance. I don't want to just kick and then fall forward. And there's one of those Isshin-Ryu codes, and it's not an Isshin-Ryu code. The 8 codes of it. It's not Isshin-Ryu. It's long before Isshin-Ryu. It's called the 8 precepts. That's where Tatsuo got it from. A book called the Bubishi. And there was a lot of Okinawan masters that used this old Chinese book. They had bunkai in it. They had charts in it. There's a lot of information. If you get a chance to get this book, I would recommend you get it. I would get the Patrick McCarthy version of the Bubishi. It's probably about $40. It's worth the money. And it answers a lot of questions. But Tatsuo Shimabuku's in it. Because again, we didn't even get the guy's name right. Everybody calls him Shimabuku. Well, that's not his name. His name was Shimabukuro. But the Americans screwed it up. That's why we got stuck with Tatsuo Shimabuku. And that's what most people say today. Another example is, you'll see the 1966 video. Well, you'll see Tatsuo do this, doing a Tokamini or a bow technique. It's not even completely done. It's half done, half step. So he never went up and completed the technique. It was just a video he really didn't even want to do. So you'll see people today doing this and they think it's correct because that's what he did on that video. That video was never intended to learn from. It was only intended to use as a reference. It's the only reference we have of seeing the founder do all the kata with the exclusion of Hamahiga. And I got the tonfa is Japanese, toifa is Okinawan. So the part of the 1966 video of him doing toifa, he forgot the kata. He just went through some techniques and stuff from the weapon. And he called it toifa. Well, of course, the Americans screwed it up, the translator, so people call it chifa. Is that chifa? So there's people today that do a kata called chifa that mimic what he did on that video as a mistake. And how do we know it was a mistake? Because he admitted he made a mistake and corrected it 2 weeks later. But we don't have video of that. But we have first generation student of Harold Mitchum, which was one of them that said, yes, Tatsuo had made a mistake and corrected himself. But you can't tell an entire lineage that they're screwed up. But that's inappropriate. So what I do is just let people do what they want, but I'm doing Hamahiga. That's the kata that Tahara Shinken taught Tatsuo. There's no historical documentation whatsoever of a kata called chifa. It does not exist. So the kata Hamahiga does. And it has a long history, all the way back to an island just off of the island of Okinawa called Hamahiga. So that's where the kata came from. Any traditional kata from Okinawa is a person's name or a village, one of the two. Sometimes they combine them. But Hamahiga was a part of the island. No means with. Hamahiga no toifa. Hamahiga with toifa. That's translation. So, okay, I hope that helps you. If you got any questions, just hit me up and I'll try to get you a video. Hi.